Wow, it's time to kick off another brand new week here at the Steve Gruber Show. I'm glad you had the time to show up here after a big weekend that I'm sure you just had. The weather was pretty good most of the places. A few rainstorms here and there, but by gosh, it was a good one, wasn't it? Glad to have you back on track with us here as we discuss all the major things going on in the world. It's a chance to fight for you from the foxhole of freedom. And here we go, folks, rolling into another big day. Number one of the three big things. The Supreme Court ruling on Friday tore back the curtain on activist judges, really exposed Ketanji Brown Jackson as a lightweight and someone at odds with her colleagues across the board at SCOTUS. Number two, in a move that should really come as no surprise, North Carolina Senator Tom Tillis announcing he will not be seeking re-election after crossing President Trump on several big issues, including the big, beautiful bill. And number three, speaking of that, President Trump calls it the big, beautiful bill, and critics like Elon Musk call it a nightmare. A disaster, but the legislation or whatever it is left of it is crawling through the Senate. The sad thing is, no matter what side you find yourself on, we've crossed $37 trillion of federal debt. $37 trillion. This legislation apparently does little or nothing to turn it around. Understand that. It does little or nothing to turn around the debt, the deficit, the spending. The bill is, well, it has a long way to go, but it cleared a key hurdle over the weekend after Chuck Schumer and the Democrats forced the entire bill to be read out loud, which took something like 16 hours to complete. Nobody listened, of course. It was a stall tactic. But beyond the theatrics, it did get through 51-49 on the procedural vote. Today, I want you to hear from several different voices, as many as possible. The sensible, the screwballs, yes, some sober comments as well. And concerning the scare tactics of the Democrats, we have this. Congresswoman Mary Miller of Illinois, who's been here a couple of times recently, says the Democrat scare tactics are only that, and that the Republicans are protecting Americans. Listen.
Whenever Republicans try to take necessary steps to preserve these essential programs to meet the needs of the most vulnerable Americans, the Democrats start playing their broken record that we're going to starve babies, children, pregnant women, that we're going to throw people off Social Security, Medicaid. No, we want to cut waste, fraud, and abuse. We want people that are ineligible for these programs to be removed. And we are taking the necessary steps to preserve these programs so they're available for the people that need them, the most vulnerable Americans.
Question is, can we salvage any of this? $37 trillion, right? I thought the point of no return was about $25 trillion. That's a long time ago now, isn't it? I thought that was pretty much the point of no return. And maybe it was. In the Senate, an outspoken supporter of President Trump says this bill is in the bag. It's going to make it. Senator Markwayne Mullin says the big, beautiful bill is going through despite the complaints, despite the naysayers, despite the pushback. Here's what he said.
Listen, Kristen, the hardest part was getting on the bill. What we mean by getting on the bill is once we pass the House version, which is what we passed last night, then we put our amendments on it and we go into debate. Although right now there's a stall tactic, obviously, by the Democrats. They're making them read page by page, which I think is great. I hope the American people pay attention to it. I hope the Democrats pay attention to it, because it's going to be very hard for them to argue about what this actually does. This cuts spending. It's the largest deficit cut by any Congress ever in history. It makes tax cuts permanent, which instead of taxes going up January 1st by $4 trillion, it actually restores the tax cuts. And it's going to, the average household of four is going to bring home pay over $10,000 more a year this year than they did last year. So that is great. I hope the Democrats pay attention to it and realize we're delivering for the American people. But once that happens, we go into a 20-hour debate. Then we're going to do the vote-a-rama, and we're going to pass this bill. And we're very confident we have the votes to do that.
Yeah. Well, we'll certainly see. And the question is, going back to Mary Miller, all these things are called essential. They call everything essential. The essential things for the American people. Don't want to get rid of this for the American people, that. Something has to go, or there's going to be nothing for the American people. Nothing for America to offer its citizens. But the left will not let this go easily. They want to scream from the mountaintops that we will all lose. The dishonesty of the left knows no end. They keep trying to scare everyone. Here's Amy Klobuchar of Minnesota spreading fear far and wide about things are going to be taken away from you. You're going to lose all of it. Listen.
What does this bill do? It kicks 16 million people off their health care. 16 million people off their health care. In order to finance tax cuts for the wealthiest, in order to give multimillionaires a $400,000 tax cut, that doesn't make the world a better place. Adding $4 trillion in debt, $1 trillion of it is interest, which is going to make mortgage rates go up. It's going to make harder for young people to be able to maybe get their first house or pay their rent. It's putting it on their backs. It's putting it on their shoulders. That's why I don't see this as a big, beautiful bill. I see this as a big, beautiful betrayal of the hardworking people of this country.
Yep, that's what it is, big, beautiful betrayal. You see, one of the things that this bill does is it stops payments to illegal aliens. That part did make it through. The money that came through and the money that's going to be stops money for illegal aliens on Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security, the SNAP program. All of that's going to be pushed back in favor of American citizens. Freshman Senator Tim Sheehy of Montana says the bill does a lot of good in his estimation. Here's what he says.
We also have a border crisis, which has largely been solved, but now we still have issues remaining from that we want to make sure we can have enough agents doing national enforcement. We want to make sure we can complete the border wall. That issue is not just going away. We've solved it for now, but that can return later. We also have certainty for our business environment that we want to provide a tax rubric that is certain and predictable. The Tax Cuts and Jobs Act of 2017 is going to be made permanent with this bill. The sooner we can give certainty to our business environment, to our investment ecosystem, the sooner we're going to see a lot of that investment come back. We've already seen tremendous investment that the president's brought back, but a predictable tax regime is key for long-term investment in this country. Things like equipment expensing, R&D expensing, no tax on tips. A lot of these policies are very focused on specific sectors of our population, our economy, to make sure we're unleashing working class job growth and also small business growth. The sooner we do that, the better it is for the economy.
Well, there's Tim Sheehy of Montana. We'll get back to all of this. It's incredibly important. Could your health issues be caused by something you can't see? Fatigue, bloating, brain fog? What if parasites are the real culprit? I was thinking of parasite cleanses when I came across a video from a trusted doctor who mentioned all of this. The doctor said ivermectin and bendazole are two powerful anti-pathogens, but what's even more fascinating, these medications are frequently used in oncology to treat cancer patients. They have anti-pathogenic properties that stunt the growth of harmful invaders, even have the potential to slow down abnormal cell growth. 60 million people have parasites in this country, but you can join the movement to get rid of them. They can slow you down, give you brain fog, make you feel lethargic, just not feel good at all. The wellness company has a solution, ivermectin and mebendazole. It's the best thing out there. It's the hottest thing going. twc.health/Gruber. You'll save $60 right now and get free shipping. Check it out. twc.health/Gruber. Check that out right now. I'll be right back. One of the people opposing the big, beautiful bill, as it has been nicknamed, Tom Tillis of North Carolina, announced over the weekend he will not be seeking re-election in the United States Senate, which is probably best because he couldn't win. Tom Tillis is out. It means some other Republicans are going to be jockeying for the opportunity, as will Democrats. But I would say that North Carolina is a pretty safe Republican Senate seat unless something goes completely sideways, which point there could be problems in North Carolina, but I doubt it. Let me continue on now. Look, the parliamentarian took big chunks out of this bill. Oh, this doesn't count, that doesn't count. Some of it got back in, some of it, but most of it, no. John Thune has not stepped up as the Republican leader of the United States Senate to take control. He could get rid of the parliamentarian, could, hasn't. Here's President Trump, by the way, going to bat for his legislation and its provisions. Listen to this.
Look, it's a great bill. It's a massive tax cut. If it's not approved, your taxes will go up by 68%. Think of that, 68, a record, the highest in the history. The Democrats won't approve it only because politically it's so good for the Republicans. The Democrats aren't approving it. But think of what they're not approving. They're not approving border security. We've done a great job at the border, but we have to add some wall. We have to do, various things. We have no money for that. We have no money for the border. We have no money for so many things. But if the Democrats, it'd be interesting to see if we get any Democrat votes. We should. If I were a Democrat, I would absolutely, maybe Fetterman, because he seems to be the most sensible one lately. If I were a Democrat, I would vote for this bill all day long because it's tax cuts and so many other things that are common sense. They're basic things. I think they're doing fine.
Yeah, I think they're doing fine, but he's not really sure. One last comment to weigh in on this before we move on to some other things this morning. Congresswoman Beth Van Dyne supports the big, beautiful bill. Here's what she says about it. Listen in.
This is Beth Van Dyne. I represent the great state of Texas, District 24. I'm excited about this one big, beautiful bill. This is something that we've been working on for over 2.5 years in Ways and Means. We're not on small business. I'm on the Small Business Committee, and we have had small businesses in every single district, in every single industry, tell us how important that this bill is to the continued success of their businesses. In fact, some have said that if we do not extend some of these provisions, they're going to have to shut down. Also, being a Texas representative, what's really important to me is making sure that we have a secure border. And this bill gives the resources that Tom Homan and Kristi Noem need to be able to keep our borders safe, to keep our communities without the infiltration of the 20 million people who have entered our country illegally in the last 4 years. We've got to pass this bill.
Yeah, there you have it. So you got people on all sides. Adam Schiff, one of the biggest critics of this bill, which means it's probably better than it looks. If Adam Schiff says it's bad, I think that's probably pretty good. All right, so while that's all going on, we'll keep an eye on that on Capitol Hill today. In the next hour, we're going to talk about Mamdani, Zoran the Moron. We'll talk more about Zoran the Moron in New York City. New York City, if you elect this guy, you deserve everything you get. Of course, he's making promises he has no way of keeping. But right now, he makes the mayor of Chicago look like a smart guy. Good Lord. All right, so other things going on you need to know about. Canada caved in. Canada caved in. You see, Canada wants to tax all these big tech companies, Google and X and Facebook and all of them, maybe to the tune of $3 billion. And so Donald Trump said, look, here's where we are on it. He called it an attack on America, suspended all trade talks with Canada Friday. So we're done with all trade talks until further. Either you figure this out or we're done. Canada folded yesterday. Canada announced Sunday night it was suspending a tax on U.S. tech firms. The Canadian government said it was suspending enforcement of the tax that was due to be collected starting today, saying the action was taken in anticipation of a mutually beneficial comprehensive trade arrangement with the United States. Prime Minister Mark Carney informed the Trump administration of the decision, and the two sides plan to resume trade talks about July 21st. So Mark Carney folds again, plays a tough guy, and then when it gets down to it, down, gone, folds. Later, yeah. Let's see here. Oh, here's something. Look, when you look at what Donald Trump's world vision is, you look at trying to stop the war between Iran and Israel, which so far that ceasefire is holding. A lot of satellite imagery right now of Fordo and the other areas that were hit by those bunker buster bombs. The damage was significant. Some people say, well, it's only going to stop Iran for a few months. Well, if that's true, why is that a bad thing? If it slows down Iran by 6 or 8 or 10 months, that's a win. I don't care who you are, that's a win for this administration, for this country. For peace in the Middle East, that is a win. There's no other way around it. But there's a problem. You see, you can't negotiate with these mullahs and the Islamic extremists that run Iran. You can't look at it the way you did the Cold War, that's for sure, because it's a different group of people. We'll be talking about that coming up as well. But what I was going to get at is the Democratic Republic of Congo and Rwanda on Friday signed a peace deal facilitated by Donald Trump. They signed a peace deal. Why is this important? Because they've been warring for 30 years. They've been at war for 30 years. And the Trump administration showed up and got a peace deal after a 30-year war. That's who these people are. If Donald Trump doesn't get the Nobel Peace Prize, nobody deserves to ever get that thing again, ever. The agreement was signed at the State Department's treaty room beneath the portrait of Colin Powell, the first African-American to hold the job of top U.S. diplomat. Secretary of State Marco Rubio called it an important moment after 30 years of war. Congo has been racked with conflict, more than 100 armed groups, the most potent backed by Rwanda, that have killed millions since the 1990s. Well, that war is finally over. Thank you, Donald Trump, for bringing that to a close. Yes, if these are the headlines you might not even collect or catch. That's why I'm here for you. Want to make sure you're informed. Welcome here, by the way. Make sure you can always watch us on YouTube, X, Facebook, live every day for you. Live every day in all these places. Never miss a minute on social media with The Steve Gruber Show. All right, here we go, diving back in. All right, so you look at the track record of this administration a few weeks in. They intervene in what was a short, hot war in India and Pakistan, get peace. They weigh into the Israel-Iran conflict. We inflict maximum damage, whatever we could, on the Iran nuclear facilities. Get a peace initiative there, a ceasefire. The Abraham Accords will likely expand here shortly. Rwanda and Congo, after 30 years of killing and slaughtering each other, a peace deal there. But on the other side of it, unfortunately, you have Russia and Ukraine still ongoing. No peace deal there yet. President Trump not able to get that done on day one being a bit of a euphemism, but no. Russia launched its largest aerial attack against Ukraine since the war began. The AP reported that Russia fired at least 537 aerial weapons at Ukraine over the weekend, 477 drones and decoys, 60 missiles. The Ukraine Air Force said 249 were shot down, 226 were lost. Lost, I don't know what that means. That mean they got away, they got through, they killed people? I don't know exactly. But what I know is that the war there is still a hot war. And doesn't seem to be getting any better. Putin and Zelensky, they'll sacrifice for people to get people killed wherever they can. If you've got a well in your yard, you might have a chance to save some money with a Well Connect geothermal system. You will save massive amounts on your bills. If you live from Montana to Maine, anywhere in the northern United States, you can cut your costs by 90%. 90%. Extend the life of your furnace and your air conditioner. Geothermal made affordable. This is the most remarkable system. If you're a do-it-yourself guy, you can put it in yourself in about a day. And if you're not, well, get your favorite HVAC people to put this together. But go look at how you can save. It doesn't replace your furnace or your air conditioner. It's an add-on. Becomes a hybrid geothermal system. It is remarkable. Patented. Made in America. WellConnectGeo.com. WellConnectGeo.com. Go look at this system. And then send me the notes after you do. You'll be impressed. I am already, and I'll be right back. All right, here we go back into it now. AI might be the most significant invention of, well, maybe of my lifetime. I mean, other things incrementally changed how we were learning, how we were improving. Transportation, education, medication, communication, all these things, right? incrementally. All of a sudden, boom. You've got AI that can help diagnose what your illness might be. You've got AI that can help you understand problems. Look, I use AI for all sorts of things. I guess I'm the exception in my age group. I use it for all sorts of things. I'll go in and say, okay, give me the mortgage rates. Give me the amortization table for this amount. Tell me what the first president did in order to go to war, whatever it might be. History, science, everything. Join me now, Mark Beckman, author of Some Future Day, How AI is Going to Change Everything. But it's leaving a lot of people 50 plus behind. Not me, apparently, Mark. I guess I'm on board with it, but a lot of people are not. Welcome back.
Good morning. It's great to see you today.
Good to see you. And look, I'm great. AI is changing everything. It can diagnose illness. It can tell me what kind of dog food I need to keep my dog healthy. It can tell me about history. I mean, it depends on you ask it a question. Now, sometimes the questions get answered kind of odd, and you have to go in and tweak and play around a little bit, but as a rule, I'm also seeing these. I was in the local grocery store here over the weekend, and there's some robot cruising around the grocery store, doing inventory of what's on the shelves. I'm like, really?
Great.
It's everywhere, isn't it?
Amazon has been using robots like that in their warehouses for probably over a decade now. It's given them a great advantage. Look, Steve, you're a learned individual. You're well-read, you're curious, and you realize that artificial intelligence can provide you with a real benefit, with a real advantage, and that's why you're using it. I think what you're referencing is this new Pew Research Center report that came out on June 25th regarding ChatGPT. Specifically, when you talk about you being a person who's 50 and older, who is in the minority as it relates to using ChatGPT. In the report, Pew reported that only 25% of individuals between the ages of 50 and 64 are using ChatGPT now, whereas those individuals below 30 are 58% of those individuals below 30 years old are now using ChatGPT. But that's ChatGPT specific, and I'm not surprised by these numbers. I think we're trending in the right direction. You highlighted your use case, utility-based for search specifically. Now, if we pull out of ChatGPT and we consider AI for search against, let's say, legacy search engines like Google,
right.
10% of the American public are already using AI for search. So that number is building.
That's what I do. I use it for search. I use it for everything. Look, but here's a question for you, Mark. Does AI, ChatGPT, Grok, whichever one I like Grok. I'll try both, right? Grok is the one that you'll find on X, Twitter, if you still call it that. Does it make people dumber, Mark? And I say that because I'm going to go back to the day of the calculator. My mother was a school teacher. She said the problem with calculators is kids never learn how to do math, ever. They just use a calculator. Well, they're not going to learn how to write papers. They're not going to learn how to do research. They're not going to learn how to use their own words to craft things because they'll just have it pushed into AI. AI will write it for them, and they'll look like they're smart, but really they don't know a damn thing about a damn thing. That's the fear I have about AI, dumbing people down. What do you say?
I think it could. I think your fear is valid. Think in terms of the fact that that same Pew Research Center study showed that 26% of the use cases with ChatGPT were education-based. And then we have this high percentage with the younger generation. You might have seen images with some of the kids at recent graduation, during graduation season, showing their laptops and showing that they were using ChatGPT. The problem is people are inherently lazy. My law professor, Professor Silverman, said that people are lazy, slothful pigs. Now, if you could get an access to an answer instantly, that doesn't mean that you'll do the work to educate yourself. You're just spitting out answers. So we might see what I predict a division between the intellectual haves and the intellectual have-nots as a result of search engines like ChatGPT. So if you're a curious person, you actually want to learn, you have more access to more information than ever before in history. But if you're lazy, you could just spit out those answers on a Perplexity, on a ChatGPT, on a DeepSeek, and as a result, we're going to have a younger, dumber generation.
Yeah, well, I think we've already got that. Look around. Mark, that's the problem. We have a group that's been educated by social media to begin with. You further enhance that. And look, the problem with AI, whether it's ChatGPT or Grok or whichever one it might be, they have a bias because they have the bias of whoever programs that particular AI platform. And as a result, you get answers that show that bias. I've seen it. I've played with it. I've demonstrated. I've called these platforms out for the bias, and they'll actually apologize to you, which is, whatever it is, programmed in there. But you're only as good as the bias of the AI is my point, aren't you?
For sure. I think that you and I both probably are attracted to Grok because we tend to lean politically to the right, and Grok satisfies our conservative perspective. But there's a problem with that too, as it relates to education and our next generation, because the way that these large language models are trained matters. So, for example, the Chinese platform DeepSeek has trained it in a way that rewrites history. It's not the way we Americans see history. For example, Tiananmen Square never happened. Xi Jinping is this great democratic elected leader, and the Uyghurs are not slaves. Now, if our generation is lazy and they're relying on information that's faulty or invalid, where does that put us in 5, 10 years?
Well, that's the point. And the Chinese infiltration is something we talk about pretty much daily on this program. So there it is again, the Chinese infiltration. Whether it's physical or virtual, it's here every day. And the impact of they are the number one adversary of this, and in every country, not just America, but every country, because China wants to be in charge globally, not just regionally, not just in some places. They believe America and Canada and Mexico are just rogue provinces waiting to be brought into the fold. That's the way they see the world. It is. And so here they are making more inroads into our education, which they already do through their students coming to our universities and all these other things. Mark, I'll give you the last word here, but I think there's a lot of reason to be optimistic about AI and a lot of reasons to be concerned. Last word to you.
Look, at the end of the day, I'm a tech optimist, and I believe that artificial intelligence will fundamentally change our society for the better within 3 to 5 years. I encourage all of your audience to take the time and learn how they could use AI to increase their careers, to enhance their families, and improve their communities. A good starting point is really where we entered today's discussion with AI search engines like ChatGPT. The value is much greater than that of a Google.
Yeah. Maybe we could use to root out commies. I'm just throwing it out there, Commie identification through AI. There it is. Mark, greatly appreciate you as always. Thank you for being here. We'll talk again soon.
Great to see you.
There you have it. All right, after the break, we're going to talk with one of my good friends over at Patriot Mobile. Who's your phone service? If you have no concern about who it should be, you probably should take a closer look at Patriot Mobile after the break. Welcome back to the program. You know, you've heard me talk about it because you hear me talking about it on Free for All Friday, of course. Patriot Mobile, the Common Sense Hotline sponsor every Friday here in the program. And you hear me talk about Patriot Mobile in general because I've been using it now for a couple of years, and I like it. I like it a lot. Ivy and I both have it. The kids have it as well. It works great. Did you know you can get two lines, basically two carriers on the same phone? You could have AT&T and Verizon on the same phone, or T-Mobile and Verizon. It's something even the big guys can't do, and that gives you coverage no matter where you may wander. Scott Coburn joining me, the Chief Marketing Officer at Patriot Mobile. Scott, nice to see you today.
Always great to see you, Steve.
Well, good to see you. Look, it's Patriot Mobile, time-tested, Gruber approved. I can tell you that right now. It's time-tested and Gruber approved, which is not easy. You know, I'm hard on phones and shoes and other things. Tell me about Patriot Mobile. Where did it come from? Where did the idea come from?
Great question, Steve. So Patriot Mobile, look, we've been doing this for about 12 years now. And the genesis of our company is that Glenn Story, our founder and CEO, saw an opportunity. There was a company on the left by the name of Credo Mobile, and they were raising millions and millions of dollars, and they were impacting elections down in Florida. And in fact, they got a very good friend of ours, Lieutenant Colonel Alan West. They went up against him in his race there down in Florida, and they got beat. And we started pulling the covers back and said, hey, what's going on here? And as it turns out, this company had been donating millions of dollars. Their PAC had been donated millions and millions of dollars to progressive causes. And Glenn said, hey, what are we doing? We need something like this on our side. And so that's how Patriot Mobile started. And 12 years later, we're still going strong, giving millions of dollars every year to organizations that are on the front lines fighting for our freedoms.
Yeah, and one of the things we talk about, the only Christian conservative wireless provider in America, Patriot Mobile. All right, so tell me, because we talk about this on the program, but I want you to tell the folks. What about the God-given rights? What about the God-given freedoms? What does Patriot Mobile do to defend those every day?
So, Steve, look, we're called to do what we do. We believe, every man in this company believes that God is truly at the helm of our business. We seek him in all of our decisions. We pray together. We have Bible studies together. We believe that we just try to be a model for what God intended a business to look like on this earth. And look, when you go back to the Word, you know, the Great Commission says that we are to go and make disciples. Well, why would we exclude going and making disciples in and through our business, really showing what it looks like to honor God and to donate to organizations that are honoring God and that are doing the right thing and in the eyes of God? I mean, to us, it's just common sense. This is what we're called to do, and this is why we exist.
It is why we exist. It's time to do the right thing. You know, there's some other things about the company. You boldly declare that you're a Christian company. You're fearless about it. You also have something that is kind of unique, and I want to go to this before I forget about it, and that's if I call your company and get somebody on the phone, I can actually talk to them. What a surprise, because they're right here in the U.S. And look, I don't have anything against call centers that are somewhere else, but it's just so much easier for me. Look, I don't hear that well. I want to talk to somebody who's right here. I want to make sure we're providing American jobs as well. You guys do that, don't you?
We do, Steve. We provide 100% U.S.-based customer support. So, and I can promise you this, when you call Patriot Mobile, the only accent you're going to hear is maybe a little bit of East Texas hillbilly. And, you know, we're here for our customers. You know, and here's something really unique, Steve, going back to the Christian angle. We'll even pray for our customers. You got a prayer need? Call Patriot Mobile. I mean, we're here for you to support the technology, and we're here to pray with you. I mean, that's what we're all about.
Yeah, that's West Texas hillbilly. Yeah, I can speak hillbilly. I studied it in college, so I'm all right with that. You're also active in the community. All kidding aside, you guys, you're part of the fabric of America. You're part of the communities you're in. You've got upcoming events and initiatives. I think you're on tour with Jason Aldean, if I'm not mistaken. Tell me about what you're doing.
Yeah, it's really exciting, Steve. So Jason Aldean, I think most of the conservatives have learned by now that he is one of the truly unique entertainers, especially in the country music. He's taken a stand. He believes in what we believe in: faith, family, and freedom. So we really wanted to take a shot in something that we've not really done before, and that's to sponsor a tour. We're sponsoring Jason Aldean's summer tour, the Full Throttle Tour, powered by Patriot Mobile. We're going to be in 32 cities, and we're going to be boots on the ground at those concerts, talking to his fans, telling them all about Patriot Mobile and why they should make the switch. And in fact, Jason and his wife Brittany have made the switch to Patriot Mobile over a year ago, and they love it. And you know how much they're traveling around. They tour everywhere, and their phones work great wherever they go. Their band members are all on Patriot Mobile. We're excited about it, Steve. And in fact, I think you and I talked about this last time we were together. They're going to be up in your neck of the woods September 11th and 12th at Pine Knob. You and your family need to come join us. We're going to be there catching the show.
Well, I intended to be there. Glenn, your good friend Glenn Story, the founder of the company, already said, Gruber, you need to be there. I said, I'll be there. In fact, I'll come backstage with you guys. Ivy and I will. We look forward to it. One last thing about that 2 carriers, 1 phone. That's remarkable. Nobody can do that, can they?
That's right, Steve. This is our Patriot Mobile One product. It's quite simple. You can have 2 active lines on 2 different networks on a single smartphone. And you're right, you said it best. That's not something you can get with any of the big carriers. Because we have access to all 3 of the major U.S. networks, you can put multiple lines on your phone. What
Mix
that
and
means
match.
is, yeah, as you move around, like I travel all over the place. If I'm weak on one network in one part of the country, I've got my backup line. I'm never without the use of data. And when you talk about peace of mind, Steve, talk about your wife or your teenage children. I don't want my wife or my kids driving around without the use of their cell phone or their navigation.
That's right.
Yeah.
All right, so here's what you need to do, folks. Go to patriotmobile.com/Gruber. patriotmobile.com/Gruber. The only Christian conservative wireless network is Patriot Mobile. Or you can call 972-PATRIOT, 972-PATRIOT, and you get hooked up right now. Scott Coburn, really appreciate you being here, my friend. I'll see you at the concert, by the way. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. God bless you.
All right. This is the Steve Gruber Show. All right, so I know you've heard this already this year, but it seems to be worse in a lot of ways. So I want to make sure that you're on board with the Asian ticks. Huge tick year right now. Huge tick year. All over the eastern United States. Hot, wet, that's right. The Asian longhorn tick's an invasive species that's been coming westward. Since arriving in New Jersey, it was the best guess, 2017. It's now as far west as Michigan. So these Asian ticks are the Asian longhorn tick is not helping, nor is it. Unlike other ticks, the female doesn't need a mate to lay up to 2,000 eggs, leading to large infestations that can stress or even kill farm animals through blood loss. It poses the greatest risk to cattle and other livestock. William Miller, a biology professor at Calvin, said students have been studying tick patterns in the region since 2020, now ramping up surveillance since the longhorn tick is an agricultural pest of concern. Our research team is continuing surveillance in the region to identify the potential distribution of the species. Yeah, it's a tick season. So there's this idea that only one tick can carry Lyme disease. That's not true either. So just be smart about it, all right? Be smart about if you get a tick you find, just keep an eye on it. Always keep an eye on it and make sure that you're looking out for your good health. Did you binge watch Hillsdale over the weekend? I did a bit. Yeah, man, they're so good. The Hillsdale College course is free to you and incredibly well done, high-end stuff. You can learn about history in this country and the most important people and what America is all about. I think that anybody that comes here that wants to be a citizen of this country should read the whole darn thing and listen and watch the whole darn thing. GruberForHillsdale.com to find out more. GruberForHillsdale.com. Follow us on YouTube Live, Facebook Live, X Live. It's the Steve Gruber Show all over the planet. Don't miss a minute. Back for the next hour in a moment.
I'm Shanola
All right, welcome back. Kicking off another big hour here of the Steve Gruber Show. Glad to have you along for the conversation. Glad you're part of it. Live from Studio G and fighting for you for the foxhole freedom every single day. Yeah, we're ferreting out the truth. Look, a lot of sources out there. How many of them do you actually trust? We're live in all 50 states and around the world. It's a dirty job telling you the truth, but we're going to do it here. Again, today, here are three big things you need to know. Number one, in Russia, bad news. As the Red Army unleashed its biggest attacks on Ukraine yet, bombarding the nation with missiles, rockets, drones, the war there dragging on. Number two, good news. While you're looking the other way, President Trump delivered another peace deal, this one ending a 30-year war between Rwanda and Congo. That's right, a peace deal with benefits for America, too. I'll tell you about that. And number three, we must take a deeper dive into the rise of a Ugandan communist. A Ugandan communist to be on track to become mayor of New York City. Did you ever really think you'd see the day? This is what happens. Some people call it the Great Replacement Theory, and other people call it a conspiracy theory, that they're bringing people in from other countries to boost the population and dilute who you are as an American born and raised here. Well, you tell me. If a guy from Uganda who's been a citizen for 7 years, who his mother says doesn't even consider himself an American, but is a Ugandan and an Indian, if he has risen to the point where he is the Democratic nominee to be the mayor of New York City, which he has, then is it a theory? Is it a conspiracy theory? Or is it the real deal? The real problem is the term globalize the intifada. You see, not only is Zoran the moron, is he not only Memdani, he's a communist. He calls himself a democratic socialist, but you'll try to find some light between those two definitions. Communist or democratic socialist, there's no light between these two things. And so the term globalize the intifada, it's a term that Zoran refuses to condemn. You see, he is a Muslim, and globalize the intifada means one thing: kill the Jews. That's what it means. Well, actually, it means kill anybody who doesn't agree with them. Might mean kill the Christians. Listen to this.
I want to ask you about an issue that has divided some New Yorkers in recent weeks. You were recently asked about the term globalize the intifada, if it makes you uncomfortable. In that moment, you did not condemn the phrase. Now, just so folks understand, it's a phrase that many people hear as a call to violence against Jews. There's been a lot of attention on this issue. So I want to give you an opportunity to respond here and now. Do you condemn that phrase, globalize the intifada?
That's not language that I use. The language that I use and the language that I will continue to use to lead this city is that which speaks clearly to my intent, which is an intent grounded in a belief in universal human rights. And ultimately, that's what is the foundation of so much of my politics, the belief that freedom and justice and safety are things that, to have meaning, have to be applied to all people, and that includes Israelis and Palestinians alike.
But do you actually condemn it? I think that's the question and the outstanding issue that a number of people, both of the Jewish faith and beyond, have. Do you condemn that phase, globalize the intifada, which a lot of people hear as a call to violence against Jews?
I've heard from many Jewish New Yorkers who have shared their concerns with me, especially in light of the horrific attacks that we saw in Washington, D.C. and in Boulder, Colorado, about this moment of anti-Semitism in our country and in our city. And I've heard those fears, and I've had those conversations, and ultimately they are part and parcel of why in my campaign I've put forward a commitment to increase funding for anti-hate crime programming by 800%.
Can't do it. No, he can't. He won't. Zoran will not condemn openly anti-Semitic terms like globalizing intifada, and of course he blames Donald Trump. This is what these leftists do. They're caught red-handed, hating Jews, being anti-Semitic, hating anybody that's not Muslim, actually. That's what globalizing intifada means. He can't condemn it because his followers would fall away and he wouldn't win the election. Listen.
I don't believe that the role of the mayor is to police speech in the manner especially of that of Donald Trump, who has put one New Yorker in jail who's just returned to his family, Mahmoud Khalil, for that very supposed crime of speech. Ultimately, what I think I need to show is the ability to not only talk about something, but to tackle it and to make clear that there's no room for anti-Semitism in this city. We have to root out that bigotry, and ultimately we do that through the actions, and that is the mayor I will be, one that protects Jewish New Yorkers and lives up to that commitment through the work that I do.
But quickly, for the people who care about the language and who feel really concerned by that phrase, why not just condemn it?
My concern is to start to walk down the line of language and making clear what language I believe is permissible or impermissible takes me into a place similar to that of the president who is looking to do those very kinds of things, putting people in jail for writing an op-ed, putting them in jail for protesting. Ultimately, it's not language that I use. It's language I understand there are concerns about.
Yeah. Again, he can't condemn it. He's not capable. Hakeem Jeffries, though, sees the problem with Zoran refusing to condemn such anti-Jewish comments. Here's what he said.
Globalizing the Intifada, by way of example, is not an acceptable phrase, and he's going to have to clarify his position on that as he moves forward. With respect to the Jewish communities that I represent, I think our nominee is going to have to convince folks that he is prepared to aggressively address the rise in anti-Semitism in the city of New York, which has been an unacceptable development. And any mayor, whether you're a Democratic mayor, a Republican mayor, an independent mayor, has got to commit to the safety and well-being of all of the people of the city of New York. And when there are moments of crisis and a rise in anti-Jewish hate, that's a threshold, of course, needs to be.
Yeah. A threshold of hate. He sees it. Zoran doesn't. Oh, and when I say, I want to go to bite 4 here. I said Zoran is an open communist. How do I know that? He admits it. He admits it. Listen.
You are a self-described democratic socialist. Do you think that billionaires have a right to exist?
I don't think that we should have billionaires because, frankly, it is so much money in a moment of such inequality. And ultimately, what we need more of is equality across our city and across our state and across our country. And I look forward to work with everyone, including billionaires, to make a city that is fairer for all of them.
Yeah, he doesn't think that billionaires should even exist. Yeah, he should be the one that decides who has enough money, what's enough money, when do you have enough money. He should be. The government should decide. The government should decide when you have enough money. Sad, but terribly true. Did you know scammers can steal your home right out from under you? The FBI calls it house stealing. It's a growing real estate scam targeting American homeowners. It works pretty simply. Criminals forge your signature on a document, use a fake notary stamp, pay a small fee, file it with the recorder's office, and suddenly your title for your home is no longer in your name, it's in their name. And then they can target the equity in your home. If you've been paying your mortgage for some number of years, well, guess what? There's value in your home. They know it. They want to come after it. They're not stealing your television. They're stealing your house out from under you. That's why I trust Home Title Lock and their $1 million triple lock protection. Keeps your home and equity safe. You get 24/7 monitoring, urgent alerts if there's any changes. If fraud should happen, they'll spend up to $1 million to get you restored. Very simple. Go to HometitleLock.com. Use the promo code Gruber. You'll save $250 on a free title check. Get protection and peace of mind that you deserve. HometitleLock.com. Promo code Gruber. Do it now.
Tomorrow is happening right
All right, my next guest has been freed by Donald Trump. That's right. He was pardoned by Donald Trump, January 6th prisoner, launching a bid for Congress. Is Jake Lang. He's 29 years old. Spent 4 years in prison for his alleged involvement in January 6th. He's back with me now. Jake, nice to see you back on the program.
Steve, my brother, God bless America.
All right, God bless America. What's going on with you? What's the latest? What are you into?
So, the article that just came out that kind of just broke headlines, Newsweek covered me, and if you can believe it, Steve, they actually gave me favorable coverage after
Really?
years of after years of slandering me and the January Sixers. They covered basically my transition from J6 political prisoner to one of the current frontrunners in the Florida State Senate race. And I was actually just at my competitor's office, the interim Senator Ashley Moody, to basically get access to the Senate chambers during that J.D. Vance vote that just happened over the big, beautiful bill. So getting for the first time back into the Capitol since January 6th. And it's been it was so sacred and historic for me after years of sitting in prison to now be sitting in the halls of Senate, and God willing, one day very soon be standing in the halls of Senate as a United States representative.
All right, so as a senator, not as a representative, right? You're running for Senate.
Yes, sir.
All right, so there's no confusion there. Ashley Moody, what are your complaints with Ashley Moody?
She is about as sterile as it gets when it comes to establishment politics, when it comes to the old school Jeb Bush, Paul Ryan, Mitch McConnell, Rhino Republican Party. She fits right in. And the United States Senate has been marred for literally since I was born, but a generation with weak-kneed, feckless leadership. And we need some real deal patriots, unyielding, unrelenting, and uncompromising in their integrity to represent the state of Florida. It is far gone the times where we need to be electing these same political establishment machines. And she just doesn't cut the mustard for me. She feigns as a Trump supporter, but we all know she is deeply embedded in Ron DeSantis' camp that actually, went against President Trump in 2024. So we need real MAGA, and I am real MAGA.
All right, so let me ask you about the big, beautiful bill, because that's what's been going through here. Some real MAGA, some real conservatives are saying, look, there's just too much spending here. It doesn't reel it in. We're at $37 trillion in debt. It continues to grow unabated, and there it is. We're going to be bankrupt. And people like Elon Musk saying bankrupting the country is not okay. What do you say about all this spending?
Well, the way that I do it is I understand that sometimes to, dig your way out of a hole, right? And which, obviously our deficit is this giant hole. You're going to need some tools. You're going to need some things at your disposal. And I believe that in the long term, just like Trump's tariffs and just like the big, beautiful bill, we will actually be able to crawl out of this hole better by further investing into these key areas in American development. And I trust President Trump. One thing that people are going to get when they vote for Jake Lang is they're going to get a true Donald Trump supporter, not a fair weather friend like Elon Musk and these other people. So, this is very key. Right now is a very key juncture. Do we trust President Trump's plan? Do we trust what the American people had voted for, which was a mandate to follow through on the Make America Great Again agenda? And I, for one, trust President Trump, and I'm going to back his decisions as a United States Senator.
Well, is there anything that he has done you disagree with? Anything at all?
For example, and this is, the big one for the J6ers, Pam Bondi's stagnation and the Department of Justice's stagnation has been, to me, pretty abhorrent. And I know that same feeling is spread throughout all of the Floridians that I know and spoke to. They just want to see actual justice be served, because these people, they didn't just try to persecute me and my brothers. They literally were committing treason, trying to ensure that President Trump would not be able to take office. So I think that his pick for DOJ and his, I guess he's not jockeying, he's not basically getting on top of them enough to follow through on really what was one of the core facets of the Make America Great Again agenda, which was getting justice for the J6ers and against all this weaponization in the government. Because what greater threat, Steve, really have we ever faced to the American way of life than the 2020 to 2024 witch hunt that the Democrats put us through, almost destroying our country? And if we don't get justice for that, what kind of standard are we going to set for the future generations of America and politicians that try to abuse their power?
What kind of money is it going to take to win, Jake? Let's be honest here. It takes a lot of money to win these races. How you doing?
Well, we're doing good. Fundraising's been great. The website, if you guys want to go and check that out, is takebackthecapital.com. That's takebackthecapital.com. You guys can check that out. But honestly, we are in a new generation. This is what we call fifth generation information war. And I learned that from General Flynn, who's a close friend of mine. He's backing us, and we're pushing with so many different podcasters, amazing shows on Real America's Voice and on X like yours. We basically, I mean, this is a dichotomy shift that people have not seen, where you don't need to really buy, 100, 200 billboards in every single highway and spend like crazy. What you need to do is reach the American people where they're at, and they're online, and they're thirsty for information, and they're thirsty for new voices and unyielding, unrelenting patriots. And once they see the storyline of what me and my brothers went through and how I never folded to a plea deal, I never once sat there and pitied myself or said, boo-hoo, sorry for myself. I got up, I bootstrapped up, I fought from the inside of a prison cell for 4 years and 6 days, and I will bring that same fight. I can guarantee the American people a vote for Jake Lang is a vote that will never, ever fail you in Congress. I will stand up in the United States Senate against all enemies, foreign and domestic.
Jake Lang, greatly appreciate you being here, my friend. Nice pitch right there. Nicely done, Jake. Thank you for being here as always, my friend.
Thank you. God bless America. Thank you, Steve.
God bless America. There you have it. Jake Lang, I'll be right back. Strange and horrifying story out of Idaho yesterday. We'll get more of this in about 15 minutes. But a fire crew out there trying to put down a wildfire, Kootenai County, Idaho, comes under fire from a sniper. At least 2 of those firefighters killed, murdered by some guy shooting them down. While responding to a fire earlier today in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, IAFF members were ambushed in a heinous act of violence. 2 of our brothers were killed by a sniper. A 3rd remains in surgery. Please keep them, their families, and law enforcement in your prayers. By the way, did the SWAT team, the man they believe is the suspect, dead, with his rifle, dead. Why would anybody attack a firefighting crew from above with a rifle? None of it makes any sense, does it? The answer is no, Gruber. It makes no sense. Why would anybody do that? And the answer is, I have no idea what the hell is wrong with people. Kill yourself. Don't kill others. If you're that screwed up, go do us all a favor. Anyhow, while corrupt elites got rich off crypto, hardworking American patriots left behind, not anymore. Block Trust IRA changing that, bringing the crypto opportunity to real Americans just like you. With crypto fueling President Trump's America First economic miracle, now is your chance to join the movement. The Animus AI trading platform runs 24/7, crushing old school strategy and helping patriots like you build serious wealth just like the elites. It's been named the #1 crypto tech platform by Bitcoin Magazine. Block Trust IRA offers up to $200 million in protection. Their clients are seeing returns, some of them as high as 250%. Remarkable, right? Doesn't matter if you're a teacher, a truck driver, if you're retired or a small business owner, this is your time. Get up to $2,500 in bonus crypto when you sign up right now. Go to SteveGruberCrypto.com, SteveGruberCrypto.com. Make retirement great again. It's time, my friends. Coming up, Josh Phillip from the Epoch Times. Yeah, he's here with me. What about birth wrong citizenship, as he calls it? Birth wrong citizenship, yeah. The twisting of our words to create something that wasn't there before. Birthright citizenship after the break here on The Steve Gruber Show. All right, so birthright citizenship. We actually went through and looked this up. We're not the only country that does it, but there aren't many. But there are some where birthright citizenship is a thing. I don't know what the details of the rules are in some of the places like Australia and elsewhere, but I can tell you this. The 14th Amendment of the United States Constitution was never intended to allow people to just to come here and have children, and those children automatically become citizens, whether they were here breaking the law or not, because that's what's happened. Illegal aliens come here, they break the law, come into the country, have a child, and then they leave, and their child's still an American citizen, which is pretty remarkable. Josh Phillips is an award-winning journalist, senior investigative reporter at the Epoch Times. Josh, welcome back to the program. It's been a while.
Hey, Steve, always a pleasure.
Nice to see you, my friend. Look, give me your interpretation of the 14th Amendment.
Well, my interpretation is it was actually created for slaves to make sure they did not lose their citizenship because, there was unfortunately a push after the Civil War. The context of it was this: children of freed slaves and former slaves, that they should be American citizens. They're born here. That was that. Shortly after that, there was another court case. This was 1898. And this case is what established what is now the birthright citizenship used by, illegal aliens and children of non-citizens. This had to do with an individual whose parents were from China. They were deemed to be citizens of the Emperor of China. And this individual was born in the U.S., left, came back, was denied entry, took it to court. And it was determined, he was born in the United States, he's an American citizen, but this is the deeper context of that. That individual, it turns out his parents were permanent residents of the United States. They were not illegal immigrants. And so this interpretation of the Constitution used for U.S. permanent residents has now been extended to be for illegal aliens, people here on student visas, anybody, exactly.
Yeah,
and I think actually when they challenge this, I don't know if it's going to stand up.
Yeah, hasn't it always been the case, for example, that ambassadors here from other countries, their kids, if they're born here, are not American citizens? That's always been understood, right? So there's an exception to this Democrat idea right there. If you're not subject to the jurisdiction thereof. And so the 14th Amendment was there to defend and protect newly freed slaves and their children. But it was never intended this way. And you're right, permanent residents that are here legally, that's a whole different thing than these Chinese birth houses where the Chinese women come over here at 7-8 months pregnant, have children in America, pick them up and go back to China, and then send those kids back here in 20 years as American citizens when they've been trained by the CCP. That's the difference, isn't it?
Totally. It's also the difference when you have the human traffickers bringing over injections with them or medicines with them to induce birth, to induce labor in pregnant women. And so, you have people who are knowingly, very actively, and aggressively taking advantage of this. It's the same thing if you have a woman who's in Mexico and she, is just about to give birth. What does she do? She illegally crosses to the United States or just comes for a day, because you don't have to illegally cross if you're coming for a day, steps over the border, goes to a hospital, goes to the emergency room, gives birth, does not have to pay anything because of the way the emergency room system works. And then, of course, there's nothing holding her to account. The kid is now an American citizen. She got free hospital care. Then she goes back to Mexico. The open doors we've created and the number of ways this can be manipulated are just insane.
It's completely insane, and it's not the way it was intended. We know that. But they didn't write it very well to deal with, they didn't consider being prepared for 21st century leftist lawyers. There's the problem, I think, Josh. 21st century.
I don't think anyone saw this coming. Yeah.
Well, I think a lot of us have problems with that. You think, however, that they could say if you're here permanently or legally or even a green card holder, maybe it applies. But if you're here flat out illegal, it doesn't apply. You think the Supreme Court can, if you, sorry to say this, but split the baby, right?
Well, I think that's going to be the next big challenge. And that's the context of the recent Supreme Court ruling, where they determined that, there cannot be nationwide injunctions. They can only be within the state. One of the contexts of that was Donald Trump's executive order on birthright citizenship. And what Trump did, he ended birthright citizenship through executive order for any kids now born. So if you're now born in the U.S. and your parents are not American citizens, you might not be an American citizen.
Yeah.
So what he did was this. That applies to not just illegal immigrants. That applies also to people here on work visas, green cards. Well, not green cards. Work visas, people who are here as students, visas, those types of things. Now, my personal belief, I think this will probably be challenged immediately. I think as soon as you have a case on it, the problem with the nationwide injunction that was that had this on hold previously, it prevented them from even looking into how to implement it, let alone the actual implementation. So this was never really brought about. It was never able to be challenged. There was never a victim to it. It was just on hold. And so now that the hold is over, we'll see if Trump actually enforces it. I do believe when it goes to the Supreme Court, I think you'll probably have a partial ruling on it. I do think, based on my understanding of the Constitution, they will probably not allow it to be applied to illegal aliens. They might make an exception for people here on like certain types of legal residency, like even possibly visas, but we'll see.
Yeah. Let me ask you something else. While we're on the Supreme Court, I want to shift gears for a moment with you, Josh. I know you watch this closely, and you have for years. It seems to me Ketanji Brown Jackson has been exposed by every other member of the court as being completely incompetent. I mean, I'm going to read something from Amy Coney Barrett that I'm sure you read and have the same kind of reaction that everybody else did. We will not dwell on Justice Jackson's argument, which is at odds with more than 2 centuries worth of precedent, not to mention the Constitution itself. We observe only this. Justice Jackson decries an imperial executive while embracing an imperial judiciary. Basically, what Amy Coney Barrett wrote here, so 2 things. Amy Coney Barrett has redeemed herself in some ways in my mind. That's thing one. Thing two, she basically says to Ketanji Brown Jackson, this is so stupid, I'm not even going to respond to it. That's what it's. This is so stupid, we're not even going to talk about it. Did I miss something?
Well, there's 2 different types of interpretation of the Constitution. I think the more traditional way of reading the Constitution is you have to look at things in the context of the thinking of how they were created. And so the intent of the creation of an amendment should be taken into consideration in how you implement it. The problem we've had over the course of time is that some amendments have been enforced in ways that they were not originally intended.
Well, that's all true, but the point that I'm making
and then you
is
get people.
They think she's stupid.
Seems to be a lot of personal arguments they have there. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I've never seen anything like it. You've read Supreme Court decisions, as have I. I've never seen anything like it. I mean, they just said you're too dumb to respond to. Anyhow, I wish we had more time for that one, but I appreciate it. Yeah. Say again.
I said new politics. People are done. They just call each other out now.
Yeah. Well, 6 people signed their names to that. That's the thing. Josh Phillip, always appreciate you being here. Thank you, Josh.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
From the Epoch Times, you can read him there. I'll be right back. All right, so Elon Musk says that the new, this bill, by the way, the big, beautiful bill will cost millions of jobs. Elon Musk says it's utterly insane, this bill. He said Saturday that his distaste for President Trump's sprawling tax and spending cuts bill, arguing the legislation that Republican senators are scrambling to pass, would kill jobs, bog down big industries. The latest Senate draft bill will destroy millions of jobs in America, cause immense strategic harm to our country, he said. So it gives handouts to industries of the past while severely damaging industries of the future. It was his birthday on Saturday, by the way. He said the bill would be political suicide for the Republican Party. I was disappointed to see the massive spending bill, frankly, which increases the budget deficit, not just decreases it, and undermines the work the Doge team is doing. I think a bill can be big or it can be beautiful. It can't be both. Remember him saying that? Well, he's still on that line of thinking, and maybe he's not wrong. Did that cross your mind? Maybe it is too big. Maybe it is too much spending. Maybe we need to stop handing money out to industry. Just a thought. I'll take your input on it. Meanwhile, speaking of being industrious, some folks on a beach saw something float up over the weekend. A little different flair here for a second. So if you're on the beach and you walk or see something bobbing up and you open it and you, man, that looks like something you'd see in the movies. I'm wondering how you would react. Something floats up on the shore on the beach while you're sitting there with your family. Looks like something out of the movies. Here's a report to explain.
A day at the beach, just west of the wildlife refuge on Fort Morgan Peninsula, when swimmers see something bobbing in the water and drag it on shore. Once they saw what they had, they called police.
50 packages, 2.2 pounds per package, so about 110 pounds with a value of about $1.5 million.
Tests confirmed it was cocaine.
The package was wrapped in black plastic, and they did tear into the black plastic, but they didn't open any of the individual bundles.
It's happened before. 4 years ago, just under 100 pounds of cocaine washed ashore along West Beach in Gulf Shores. And for the next couple of days, more cocaine hit the beach. And that could happen again.
It's not uncommon for us to get a bundle and then a few days later get more bundles, and they can wash up. Sometimes they're individual, like the kilo size, and sometimes larger bundles.
Investigators say the cocaine had been in the water for a while. Barnacles were already attached to it. Now the question is, where did it come from?
Where did it come from? So my question to you is, if you saw cocaine, 100 pounds of it, give or take, and you knew it was worth $1 million or more, are you turning it into the police? If you're by yourself, not a beach full of people, you turning that in, you putting that in the truck and going home? Serious question. Putting that in the truck, going home, and finding some way to dump it on the open market? I think a lot of people would these days. You know, I'll sell it for $250,000 cash. It's worth $1.5 million. I'll take $250. See you later. Would you risk that?
What would you do, Steve?
I don't know.
I think I would turn it in.
I think I'd have to think about it. There's my answer. I'd have to think. I'd probably end up turning it in, but I sit there. I'd run the scenarios through my head. I think most people would run it through their head, go, what are we going to do here? Of course, you know, the bigger fear today, which occurred to me when I was looking at that story, was I would never touch it, because what if it has fentanyl in it, right? Because you never know anymore, right?
Yeah. Well, I know those barnacles that were attached to it are probably super barnacles.
Well, they're super bummed out now because, well, their free train to the cocaine bill is taken away.
Send them to rehab.
But you know, the coke's obviously pretty well sealed. It was dry and still in good shape. Still in good shape. Here's another story from over the weekend. I'll get you all to weigh in on this one, because I don't know how this is allowed to go on weekend after weekend after weekend. And that is the lawlessness in L.A. and elsewhere with looting and everything else. Listen to this.
An intersection takeover in Bellflower, quickly turning into a burglary free-for-all. New video shows the moments overnight that things at the intersection of Woodruff and Artesia got out of control. In the surveillance video, you can see the gas station worker even try to dodge something thrown at him while he tries to hold off the people trying to storm his store. Those responsible hopping from a gas station to a beauty store, breaking into ATMs and cash registers. Then down the street off Del Amo and Paramount in Lakewood,
14, 15.
Another burglary around the same time, showing people breaking into a phone store and leaving behind a trail of destruction. Now the businesses that were hit are left to clean up.
Yep, there it is. More lawlessness and looting and destruction. They don't just loot the store and come and take stuff. They smash stuff, as you heard or see. It's how does this continue to happen? Why is it allowed to happen? Why are the people there? Look, you can identify these folks. Why are they not in jail? Oh, it's just a property crime. Yeah, and it's not a big deal, right? Property crime. Oh, yeah, it's no big deal. Nobody got hurt. Nobody got hurt. That business owner got hurt. That business owner got hurt badly. He's poured his life and soul into that place, and nobody cares. Oh, it's just a property crime. They need to eat. They're not there to eat. They're stealing beer and cigarettes. Good Lord. It's inexcusable. Inexcusable, I'll tell you that. All right, when we come back, we'll visit with Brock Palmbush about sports, all right, after this. All right, time to check in on sports now with Brock Palmbush.
With a look at sports, I'm Brock Palmbush. A full schedule of games in Major League Baseball yesterday. American League winners included the New York Yankees, Detroit, and Houston. National League winners included Philadelphia, Pittsburgh, and the LA Dodgers. Lots of NBA news. LeBron James has opted into the final year of his contract with the Los Angeles Lakers. He'll make $52.6 million next season. James Harden is headed back to the Los Angeles Clippers on a 2-year, $81.5 million deal. Jabari Smith Jr. will sign a 5-year deal worth $122 million to stay with the Houston Rockets. And Detroit Pistons guard Malik Beasley is under investigation for allegations of gambling related to NBA games and prop betting. The allegations are for the 2023-24 season when he was with the Milwaukee Bucks. Beasley is an unrestricted free agent this offseason. That's a look at sports. Back to you, Steve.
All right. Thank you, Brock, for that. Greatly appreciate it. When we come back after the top of the hour, by the way, new sound from Zoran, the moron. Trust me, New York City, if you vote for this, you deserve everything you get. New London. This guy says he wants to seize the means of production. Yeah. Trump floats an effort to get journalists to reveal who leaked low-confidence intel report on Iran. Not sure you can do that, but he's trying to get it done. President Trump said that whoever leaked a low-confidence Defense Intelligence Agency report on the U.S. strike on Iranian nuclear facilities should be prosecuted. The leaked report claimed the U.S. strike only set back Iran's program by a few months, but the fact of the matter is it was a low confidence report, meaning it doesn't mean much because they didn't know, they didn't have enough information. And again, I go back to, okay, let's say it only set the, if it only set the Iran effort to get a nuclear weapon back 6 or 8 months, that's a win. On what planet is that not a win? I'll be right back. All right, kicking off another brand new hour here, the Steve Gruber Show, fighting for you from the foxhole of freedom. Yeah, it's a no panic zone, I'll tell you that. No question about it. Three big things you need to know this hour. Number one, a professor at Michigan State, one professor, says the ag terror theory might be overblown when it comes to the University of Michigan. Well, based on all the other sources I have, this MSU professor might be out to lunch. Number two, Michigan lawmakers move to guard state voting systems from foreign influence. Another place that China has come in, I suppose that's not much of a concern either, huh, Professor? And number three, let's continue to talk about Zoran. Zoran is the biggest threat to common sense America that I've seen in a long time. Can you imagine less than 25 years after 9/11, the city of New York is on the verge of electing a communist Muslim from Uganda as its mayor. A guy who's only been here as a citizen for 7 years. A communist Ugandan who, by the way, if you don't believe he's communist, what would be the single biggest definition of communism? Seizing the means of production. Right? Putting the government in charge of all production, seizing the means of production, taking away all private ownership of business and production. That would be the biggest, right? Well, if that's the case, here is Zoran not long ago talking about all of these things. Listen closely. Here he is.
What the purpose is about this entire project, it's not simply to raise class consciousness, but to win socialism. And obviously raising class consciousness is a critical part of that. But making sure that we have candidates that both understand that and are willing to put that forward at every which moment that they have, at every which opportunity that they're given. We have to continue to elect more socialists. And we have to ensure that we are unapologetic about our socialism. There are also other issues that we firmly believe in, whether it's BDS, right, or whether it's the end goal of seizing the means of production, where we do not have the same level of support.
Two things about what he said so far. Seizing the means of production, yes, that means he's a communist, but he also makes another anti-Semitic and anti-Jewish slam on BDS. Support BDS, which stands for Boycott, Divestment, Sanctions. It's a Palestinian-led movement that began in 2005 to pressure Israel to end its occupation of what they consider to be Palestinian territory, dismantle the separation wall, grant equal rights to Palestinian citizens of Israel, which they do, by the way, recognize the right of Palestinian refugees to return. Israel, does recognize Palestinian citizens. So Israel has recognized the Palestinian citizens of Israel since 1948. That's about 20% of Israel's population are those who would consider themselves Palestinians. They are recognized. And so here's BDS, here's Zoran talking about BDS, boycott, divestment, sanctions. It's anti-Jewish. It's anti-Israel. It's anti-Semitic. It's what it is. It's what it is. And there he says it. Okay, let's roll him back. Let's continue right where we stopped. Let's go.
At this very moment. And what I want to say is that it is critical that in the way that we organize, in the way that we set up our work and our priorities, that we do not leave any one issue for the other, that we do not meet a moment and only look at what people are ready for, but that we are doing both of these things in tandem, because it is critical for us to both meet people where they're at and to also organize for what is correct and for what is right, and to ensure that over time we can bring people to that issue. The ramifications of victory here is the difference between life and death for so many of our brothers, sisters, and family beyond the binary across this borough of Queens.
It's the difference between life and death. If we don't win, it's life and death, please. Here's a guy who just said there should be no billionaires. He wants to seize the means of production. What do you think the world would be like if you didn't have, and I'll just use Elon Musk as an example, if you didn't have people like Elon Musk that could create things, and whether or not he created, he can steward them through. He didn't invent the rocket, he didn't invent social media, but he found a way to put together people who make these things more powerful. You might not like Jeff Bezos. You might not like any of these billionaires. But they've created opportunities for millions of people and made breakthroughs. This guy would outlaw billionaires, take the means of production, put the government in charge of your grocery stores. That'll go well. Continue. Go ahead. Let's keep going.
It's the difference between having cash bail anymore or not. It's the difference between having sex work be decriminalized and not.
Oh, he stopped.
And with every battle that...
No cash bail. Let's see what he stands for. Prostitution legal, which seems odd for a Muslim, but okay. Legal prostitution, no cash bail, or maybe I'm wrong about that, as it being unusual, that is. So let's see what we've got. No cash bail, prostitution legal, seize the means of production, no billionaires. What else does he stand for? Let's continue on a little bit farther.
We fight as socialists. We need to remember what the stakes are and ground ourselves in them, and why those stakes are important and critical to us as individuals.
Okay, I guess that's it. New York, if you put this guy in the mayor's office, you deserve everything you get. Every damn thing you get. Wake up, people. Now, he doesn't have a very smooth track to... First of all, I don't believe the Jewish vote for this guy is going to be very strong at all. In fact, there'll be no Jewish vote for this guy, be my guess. I guess we'll find out. There should be no Jewish vote for this guy at all. But we'll find... I'm going to talk to some of my friends there and find out where this is. Or if the Jewish vote is going to solidify again. The Jewish vote in New York City is larger than the Muslim vote, about 1.4 million to 1 million, right? Zoran the moron should not win there, but he could, I suppose. He shouldn't. Eric Adams should likely win this. We will see how this plays out, all right? We're going to watch it. We're going to inform you. We're going to expose these people for who they are. They're anti-American communists who would steal business and give it to the government because the government's so damn good at running things. That's why New York's in such great shape already, by taking money away from the working people to give it to people that don't work and people that are not even citizens. Give me a break. Wake up, America. Wake up. I'll be back. All right, coming back to it now. My news source, Michigan news source, breaking more stories in Michigan than anybody else when it comes to big stories and big headlines. We're going to get into some of those right now with Katie Hyde, the Assistant News Director at Michigan News Source. Katie, welcome back to the program.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning. All right, so Jocelyn Benson, I don't think her run for governor is going very smoothly. And just my observation, looks like it's a little bumpy on the road to wherever she's going. But she botched the campaign finance website launch, and she's getting grilled by it. What is the campaign finance website, so for people that don't know?
The campaign finance website is something that is now required by law so that lawmakers, politicians, lobbyists have to enter their campaign finances quarterly. And there's a newly designed website that the Secretary of State's department was put in charge of, and the rollout did not go smoothly. Lawmakers were saying they were having trouble entering information. They were getting kicked out. The site was difficult to manage. They missed a deadline. And so what the legislature had to do in a very rare bipartisan moment is come up with a law about a month ago for Governor Gretchen Whitmer to sign to give them an extension on filing those forms. And the House decided to have Jocelyn Benson come and speak with them last week during a committee meeting, because they were asking her what happened, where was the breakdown in your department. Now, she did say that she takes full responsibility, but this is a person who is running for the top office in the state in November 2026, and we're supposed to be putting the governor, our trust in the governor in terms of business opportunities, educational opportunities, fiscal responsibility, and yet her campaign has been plagued by problems in the last 6 months, and that's how old her campaign is.
Yeah, so Jay DeBoyer is the newly minted House Oversight Committee chair, right? He's been on this show a couple of times.
Correct.
Seems like a pretty straight shooter, a guy who didn't need to be in politics, but, decided, look, I need to do something about what I'm seeing in Lansing. He said this: we can spin it however we want. The fact is the MITN system doesn't work as it should. We can sit here as government officials all day and pat ourselves on the back and what it is we're doing. The reality is when you talk to the users, they're very unsatisfied. He pulls no punches. I found this to be kind of his track record. DeBoyer is a guy who seems to he's not really interested in what party you're from. He's more of a guy who's just going to crack you across the knuckles with a ruler and say, get it together. Am I missing something?
No, he was a very straight shooter, and he was quick to call her out on that because she was saying how proud she was of her department executing certain aspects of this website, and he responded, no, we can spend all day doing that, but the bottom line is we need this working, and if you're in charge of it, your department needs to figure out a way to figure it out. What was also interesting, if you talk about not pulling any punches, Representative Angela Regas, who represents Caledonia area, was asking Benson some questions as well. And earlier on in the testimony, Benson said, I tried out the website before we officially launched it, before lawmakers could get on there and enter information, and I had no problems. I was able to get in and out in 10 minutes. And Regas responded, well, you should. It's your website. But the rest of us had problems. And so just holding her feet to the fire, which I think has not necessarily been a consequence with the Democratic majority that we've had held in those top offices over the last couple of years. Now that the Michigan House has flipped GOP, there's a different sheriff in town and certainly a different vibe coming from Lansing.
Yeah. Meanwhile, I've noticed this, Katie, and maybe you can tell me. I've noticed that Gretchen Whitmer on social media has been doing a lot of self-promotion as of lately, cheerleading herself, patting herself on the back, talking about, no, I'm great, let me tell you about it. Kind of an attitude, right? And it's pretty clear, despite her hiding behind the book or whatever, notebook or whatever, in the Oval Office. The file, whatever. She's running for president. She's trying to do everything she can to make herself, look at all we've done for Michigan. I drive out on my roads. I don't know what it's like where you are. I drive my roads here, I can knock a filling loose in the first 100 feet. I mean, the roads here are abysmal. Yeah, they fixed a few. Yeah, they're doing some work around Lansing. That's great, and some other places around the state. But the roads in general have gotten worse, as far as I can tell, and that was her number one issue. So let's just be straight about this. Gretchen Whitmer if she becomes the Democrat nominee, boy, do they have a weak field. That's my take. Your thoughts?
She is running for president, even though she hasn't officially declared. And you do have to look at politicians' track record. They tend to have a pattern where they do something, they hold a press conference, or they figuratively light something on fire and then let the residents deal with it, and then they move up the rank. We see this all the time. We call it promoting incompetence, right?
Yeah.
You have to look at what has been done or not done in the state of Michigan, and you ask ourselves, do we want that same philosophy at a national level?
Yeah.
Well, Michigan red in November. I don't think that they do. I think Michigan has a potential to go red in the midterm elections, with the elections for governor. But she certainly is trying to look presidential. Whitmer has taken several foreign trips in the last several months, including one recently to Australia. But it's not like Michigan doesn't have its fair share of problems. They have to have the budget in by tomorrow, and the special election for the 35th state Senate seat still has not been held. They've been without representation since January, when their state senator was elected to Congress. There's work to be done in the state, and yet she's traveling out of state with the Michigan Economic Development Corporation and spinning it as business opportunities for Michigan. But some have argued this might be a bucket list for her to go on a vacation on the taxpayer's dime.
Maybe it
her
is.
waning months of her gubernatorial time.
I'd like to go to the land down under. Yeah. Story I didn't get to here with Katie, but I'll get to you after the break. An MSU professor dismissing any concerns about bioterrorism at U of M. He kind of stands by himself, I'll tell you that, because I've talked to a whole lot of folks who believe this is real serious in Ann Arbor and a bigger problem. But there it is. Katie Hyde from Michigan News Source doing a great job as always, Katie. Thank you.
Thank you.
Really appreciate it. We'll have this ag terrorism story after the break. All right, so here's the story I was telling you about. Here's the headline. A Michigan State professor says the University of Michigan agri-terror theory likely overblown in the University of Michigan fungus case. But then you dig back into the article, and here's what you find. Admittedly, because he dismisses this, saying the fungus is common, it's already here. We talked about all this. It is common. Then why are you trying to sneak it in? If the fungus is common, why are you trying to sneak it in? The reason for importing international strains, despite the fungus's presence in Michigan, may be scientific rather than malicious, but you don't know this. This Professor Chilvers is his name, downplayed all of this. Well, I'm going to say, Mr. Chilvers, you haven't talked to the people I've talked to. Did you know that there are 1,000 scientists from China, Chinese nationals, working at the National Institutes of Health, NIH? That's just one example. Right? And you've got these Chinese nationals bringing in these funguses, these pathogens. Couldn't even tell you, they couldn't even tell why they couldn't explain why they were bringing it, and they're on trial. And so they can claim it's a common fungus, which it is, but here's the why the intent. Here's the article, the the best paragraph in the article. Admittedly, the optics are not great for UM-linked events. Smuggled spores, Chinese nationals, a sensitive university lab, and encrypted phone messages, among other things. But until these cases go to trial, much remains unknown. Even in situations involving potential espionage, the principle of innocent until proven guilty still applies. Well, maybe it shouldn't. So we'll see. I think it's nice that this professor downplays it, one. But I've talked to so many people beyond Martin Chilvers, a professor of plant pathology at Michigan State. He says less about bioterrorism, more about overzealous students skirting red tape. There's a reason that when you land from coming in overseas, there are people there with dogs and beagles to make sure you don't bring in biological agents. There's a reason for that. And so skirting the rules is not just some innocent thing. Not at all. There's a reason you get arrested for doing this, because it damages our agriculture, potentially devastating it. I'll take a break and be right back. All right, back to it now. Speaker Matt Hall, Michigan Republican, Speaker of the House, joining me now. Matt, welcome back to the program.
Hey, thanks for having me back.
So we've got a deadline tomorrow, I believe, the K through 12 budget. I'd like to compare the House plan to the Senate plan. It increases funding, your plan does, by another $2,400 a student to a record high of $12,000 a kid. And in some districts, it's $30,000 a kid, like Flint, right? Remarkable amounts of money. I mean, I'm going by historical numbers. I'm assuming that hasn't changed. That's a lot of money, Matt. Why a 25%? It's basically a 20%, 25% increase in money for students. Again, what's up?
Well, what we're seeing is the Democrats, what they're trying to do in the budget is stuff it full of hundreds of earmarks, mostly for for-profit companies. And what the Republicans are trying to do in this upcoming education budget is we're trying to empower the local districts. So essentially the reforms and changes that I'm trying to make with the House Republicans is for Lansing politicians to stop handpicking hundreds of for-profit companies to get these earmarks and instead give the money to our local districts, come up with a set of rules to hold them accountable, and then empower our local school boards and local districts to make those decisions. And I'll give you a couple examples.
Please do, because I'm still not understanding.
Yeah, so the like in Lansing, they decide, okay, the lobbyist that provides this testing service is, we're going to go with this one, and we're going to force every school district in the state to use this test. So whether that's ACT or SAT, you see them deciding things like this is the algebra tutor company that you can use, school districts, and then they earmark a few $1 million that goes to that company. They have ones that for things like something called Playworks, which is a company that is in charge of advising kids on what to do during recess. They put $2 million in the budget for that. They want to decide which after-school programs are picked over others. One is a boxing ring in Detroit. So what we're saying is, what do these Lansing politicians know about which after-school program local districts should use, or what companies should be advising kids on recess, or which test the local districts should use? We're just basically rolling all that up and giving it to the districts, and then putting some rules in place and ending all of these earmarks that are going on in Lansing.
Yeah, so let me ask you something, Matt, because here's where I am with it. In 2018, the state budget was what, $55 billion, 56 maybe?
Mm-hmm.
Today it's $85 billion, or is it more than that now?
Well, it's less than that, but the Democrats are proposing budgets like that. You're correct.
Well, how big was the budget that was signed last year? It's in the mid-80s, wasn't it? 82, 83?
Yeah, I think it's like 82, and they want to grow it to 84, 85 this year.
Right. Well, why can't we just... $12,000 a student seems to me, I'm just looking at this, and I don't disagree with what you're saying about for-profit people and lobbyists for getting this and that and everything else. Happens here, happens in Washington, and the people that really need, the support oftentimes don't get it. But to me, it's like, frankly, how the hell did we add $30 billion to spending, and how can we not trim it back to $75 billion? Or state of Pennsylvania does it for $30 billion less, or 40 than we do. And we're adding spending here. I don't understand. A lot of us don't understand, Matt.
So the way our budget works, there's, like the sales tax, which was expanded a couple years ago to include the internet purchases. So when you purchase something on the internet, you automatically are collected sales tax on that.
Uh-huh.
A good percentage of that is constitutionally earmarked for the school budget. And what's happening, I guess, as you're doing the state budget, is the school budget is exploding. And the rest of the budget is is not gaining revenue nearly as quickly as the school budget.
Why?
So then what happens is you've got this big pot of money for schools, and then the legislature and the governor, we decide how to spend that money. So the argument going on right now is, do you put that money directly into the districts, or do you siphon off millions and millions of dollars and give it to earmarks for for-profit companies? And I guess what we're saying is what Lansing has been doing for the last, say, 10 years isn't working. And we're trying to eliminate a lot of these pork projects and earmarks in the budget and try to empower our local districts more, because all these things the Lansing politicians are doing is not working.
Yeah,
And,
well,
and the
that's true.
interesting thing, there's a ballot initiative you probably saw to create a graduated income tax in Michigan that the Democrats are pushing, where they're going to do this surcharge on the wealthiest people in Michigan. And they want to dedicate all the money they get from that to education too. So that'll
Well,
be a very
let's to be
interesting
honest about
ballot.
that's to appease unions. It's not for the kids. Look, I'm old enough to remember, Matt, when they told us that the lottery was going to pay for education in Michigan. The lottery was going to be the money. And then we don't have to go after the people. We can lower taxes here and there and everywhere. The state of Michigan is, according to a couple of websites right here, $44 billion in debt is the state of Michigan. And growing every day. Just like the federal government. $44 billion and growing. What are we ever going to do anything about that, or just, I mean, and I'm not blaming you, Matt. Don't get me wrong, but as we sit here, we watch, raise taxes on this, spend more on that, while Tennessee and Texas and Florida are prospering and New Hampshire gets rid of income tax, we just pay more and more and more, and what do I get out of it? Does business want to come here? I don't think so. Why would they? And I realize it's not your side of the aisle mostly, but I mean, I still see more spending and more everything. I'll give you the last word.
Yeah, so you're going to see even more money potentially pouring into education, which is going to put more emphasis on how the legislature spends
Because
it.
our test scores are doing so well. Michigan's doing so well in education. We're spending more because it's working so well, right?
Well, I think that people are trying to throw more money at it for that reason, rather than put the accountability in there. That's what you're seeing. The House Republicans were committed to getting more value for your tax dollars. That's why we've been fighting so hard on this state budget to not do things like it's always been done, where they just tack 3% on the top of what they did last year. So as the budget put down,
yeah.
you'll see that.
It's always adding. Anyhow. And I'm not blaming you, Matt. I don't mean to come down on you, but I mean, a lot of we just get frustrated. We feel like we pay more and more for less and less. A lot of people feel that way. Anyway, I'm out of time. Matt Hall, greatly appreciate you being here, Matt. Don't hold it against me. I'm just asking for the folks. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so I found a better source for the debt. And look, the debt is something you need to be concerned with. You have federal debt and now you have state debt. And the state debt in Michigan is not $44 billion, it's $84 billion. $84 billion of debt, which is slightly better than Ohio's $93 billion, but a lot worse than Indiana's $52 billion. You know who's in good shape? Wyoming. They have $2 million of debt. That's it, $2 million. Montana, $6 billion. Idaho, $6 billion. North Dakota, 10. South Dakota, 7. Mississippi, $15 billion. They're in some of the better shape. But you get to Maine, $9 billion. New Hampshire, 10. Vermont, $5 billion. And way down here, Rhode Island has about 12. Look, you can play all the games you want. Oh, we're spending more here and on this and that. And look, I get it. But the fact of the matter is, all this money spent on education has not made our kids any smarter. Look at the test scores. Michigan continues to tumble down the ladder. Throw all the money you want at it. Keep spending all the money. I don't care what side of the aisle you're on. Spend all the money. It's not working. You know what works? The basics. Phonics, for example. When it comes to reading, phonics works. Sound it out. My mother taught me to sound out words from the time I was 4 years old. Sound it out. Those things work. You know, new math doesn't work. Math works. Basic math principles. Don't let kids use calculators. That works. Do not let these punk kids use calculators, not on their smartphone, anywhere. We're making kids dumber. We're making people dumber. We're making citizens dumber. If you never have to do math, and where should math be done? Primarily in your head. If we never teach kids how to do math, if we never teach them to write a sentence because they can go to ChatGPT. They'll just go there and write it for them. Handwriting. Good God, handwriting doesn't exist anymore because people use computers all the time. Nobody can write anything. Nobody can do math. I'm surprised they can read, and maybe they do, maybe they don't. Maybe they don't have to read because they just go to the synopsis, History for Dummies. Oh, and by the way, you've got this AI program, whatever it might be, ChatGPT, Grok, whoever you might use, and they give you their spin on a topic. Let me go to one here. Let me see how this works. I'm going to go to ChatGPT. And I'm going to do this for a reason. Because one of the biggest crimes of the 20th century happened in China. Beginning in 1958, it was called the Great Leap Forward. So here's how it opens. The Great Leap Forward. This is from ChatGPT, and I want you to understand. I just typed it in just now, real time. Here we go. The Great Leap Forward was an ambitious socio-economic campaign initiated by the Chinese Communist Party (CCP) under Mao Zedong. From 1958 to 1962, it aimed to rapidly transform China from an agrarian society into a modern industrialized communist utopia. But it ultimately resulted in one of the most catastrophic famines in human history. That's correct. 50 million people died. 50 million. Now, this is actually accurate, which I feel good about. I'm surprised, but I feel good about it. The Chinese lied about it. The estimates are 15 to 45 million deaths, but in some more believable estimates, the deaths were 50 million. The point is, we don't teach kids about this. We don't teach kids that following the Emancipation Proclamation, black Americans joined the Union Army by the tens of thousands. Somewhere between 200,000 and 250,000 black Americans fought for their own freedom in the American Civil War. It was a turning point. Helped Grant win the war, or Lincoln, if you will. We don't teach people things anymore. We don't teach people the truth about America, the truth about the world, the truth about communism. This is what Zoran supports. Zoran Mandani, the new Democrat candidate to be the mayor of New York City, believes that all of the things that led to the Great Leap Forward, which was nothing more than a great leap into a giant grave for 50 million people. 50 million Chinese died. If you look up, I don't have time to do it for you now, but I suggest you do it. If you look up the Uyghurs, well, let's say that they are enslaved by the Chinese, because they are. Hard to compete with an economy when they have slave labor. Did you know there are more slaves on the planet today than at any time in human history? More slaves, more people in slave situations. You can call it indentured servitude. I don't care what you call it. Enslavement on this planet is worse today than it has ever been, raw numbers. They don't teach you that, do they? Debt in this country is worse today than it has ever been. In this state, in the states around us, there isn't a single state. Isn't it remarkable? There is not a single state in America with a surplus. How could they all get it wrong? Unless the politicians and the lobbyists are flat out crooked. Waste, fraud, and abuse is real, which brings me to the big, beautiful bill. I don't know that I support it. I'll just throw it out there. Don't know that I do. Haven't seen it. Don't know enough about it. How can I support something I know nothing about? Which I would say about the people in the House and the people in the Senate, too. They don't know a damn thing about it either, and yet they're going to sign their names to it. Tell you how great it is. Give me a break. Final thoughts after this.
The Michigan Chamber.
me give you some numbers here, just while I'm on it and while I'm going down this road. The number of people murdered by way of socialism and communism in the 20th century, 100 million. Pretty accepted number. Might be higher than that. Soviet Union, 20 to 30 million. People's Republic of China, 45 to 65 million. I think it's actually higher than that. I think 100 million people died in China alone. But there was no way to track it. It's a guess. It's guessing at the population how many died. A couple million in Cambodia, a couple million, maybe 3 million in North Korea, 1 million in Vietnam. Eastern Europe, 1 million or more. Just goes on and on. And on and on and on forever. So, man-made famine of 5 million in Ukraine, 1932-33. 50 million in the Great Leap Forward. North Korea, nobody knows. Nobody knows. Tens of millions of people die as a direct or indirect result of the policies enacted by socialist, communist, and authoritarian socialist regimes. Now, here's something else I want you to take home with you today and be aware of. I said this, more slavery today. More slavery today than at any time in world history. Sectors like domestic work, construction, agriculture, manufacturing. So an estimated 50 million people today, 50 million people today on the planet living in conditions of modern slavery, sex slavery, forced labor, all of it. And America's a bad place? Yeah, I think not. Fight the good fight, my friends. Keep the faith. God bless America. I'm Steve Gruber. This is the Steve Gruber Show. And remember, only you can save America. Only you. But you have to have the knowledge to speak up and be heard. I'll be back.